Welcome to the premiere of Faith and Freedom, the Presidents Who Built America. This year, 2026, marks the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, a semi-quincentennial celebration of the nation God raised up through extraordinary men and women guided by timeless principles. In this weekly series, we will examine each president not to tear down or to idolize, but to highlight the positive accomplishments that shaped the freest, most prosperous, and most generous nation in history. We will view their leadership through the lens of truth on the founding ideals they sought to uphold, and at the end of each episode, we'll trace how these accomplishments still bless and protect us today. We'll begin appropriately with the one man considered indispensable to America's birth and survival, George Washington. Most of us know the broad strokes: Valley Forge, the crossing of the Delaware, 8 years leading the Continental Army, 2 terms as president, but fewer appreciate how Washington's character, forged by biblical virtues and profound sense of duty, preserved liberty when it hung by a thread.
I can hear you, the rest of the world hears you, and the people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
So let's start with his early formation. George Washington was born in 1732 into a middling Virginia planter family. He lost his father at age 11, an event that forced him to grow up quickly and rely on God's providence in ways that would define his life. Like the biblical Joseph, sold into hardship, yet rising through integrity and diligence, Washington taught himself surveying, mathematics, and the classics. He copied out 110 rules of civility as a teenager, which were guidelines rooted in biblical principle and wisdom about humility, honesty, and respect for others. By his early 20s, he had already faced death in the French and Indian War, surviving battles where companions fell around him. He wrote to his brother after one engagement, "I heard bullets whistle, and believe me, there is something charming in the sound." But privately, he confessed a deeper truth: divine protection. 4 bullet holes pierced his coat, yet not one touched his body. Washington believed, as Psalms 91 declares, that the Lord had assigned angels to guard him in all his ways. This sense of providence never left him. And so now let's turn to his 3 greatest accomplishments, each one preserving the Revolution and the Young Republic when both could have been easily collapsed. The first, his leadership of the Continental Army from 1775 to 1783. Outmatched in men, supplies, and training, Washington refused to spare. He embodied the biblical command of Proverbs 24, verse 10. If you faint in your day of adversity, your strength is small. Instead, he showed steadfast courage, the same courage God commanded Joshua as he prepared to lead Israel into the Promised Land. At Valley Forge, in the brutal winter of 1777, soldiers were starving and freezing, and Washington was spotted multiple times on his knees in the snow, praying alone for his men and his country. And Isaac Potts, a Quaker who witnessed one such moment, later said, "America's cause is the cause of God." That prayer sustained leadership, and it held the army together until victory at Yorktown in 1781. Because Washington would not quit, we gained the independence we still celebrate today. Second, as president under the new Constitution, Washington established precedents that protected liberty for generations. The loudest calls came for him to become king and serve for life. He could have done so easily because the people adored him. Yet Washington rejected absolute power. He served only 2 terms and voluntarily returned to his private life. This decision echoed the biblical warning in 1 Samuel chapter 8, where Israel demanded a king like all other nations, and God warned them such rulers would take their sons, their daughters, and their fields. The founders knew that centralized power corrupted, and Washington lived out that truth. By stepping down in 1797, he established that peaceful transfer of power that has marked every transition since, something rare in world history. Because Washington put principle over personal power, we avoid the dictatorships that plague many nations today. Third, Washington championed religious liberty for all. In his famous letter to the Hebrew congregation at Newport, Rhode Island, he wrote that America would give to bigotry no sanction and to persecution no assistance. He echoed the biblical truth that every person bears God's image and deserves freedom to worship according to their conscience. This commitment helped enshrine the First Amendment, ensuring government would neither establish nor prohibit religion. Because Washington defended liberty and conscience, America remains a place where faith flourishes freely today. Washington faced constant challenges: betrayal by generals, criticism in the press, physical pain from old war wounds. Yet he governed his temper, he sought counsel, and he leaned on prayer. When the Constitutional Convention deadlocked in 1787, it was Washington's quiet presence and closing appeal to compromise that broke the impasse. And James Madison later said the Constitution would not exist without him. So, how does Washington's accomplishments impact us today in 2026? Because he held the army together through faith and perseverance, we inherited a nation founded on liberty rather than conquest. Because he limited his own power, we enjoy regular, peaceful elections instead of monarchs or strongmen. Because he protected religious liberty, people of every faith, or none, can live, work, and worship without government interference. And perhaps most importantly, Washington showed that true greatness lies in humility before God. He closed his farewell address with these words: "Reason and experience both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious principle." 250 years after the Declaration, Washington's example still calls us to the same virtues: courage rooted in faith, power restrained by principle, and liberty guarded for all. I want to thank you all so much for joining me on this journey of America's presidential legacy. Next week, we're going to examine John Adams, the brilliant mind who defended the rule of law and helped preserve the young republic through its first great crisis. If this series blesses you, please subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss an episode. Together, let's celebrate the faith and freedom that built America and pray they endure for generations to come. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. I wish you all a very great day. Bye for now.